So, Bhagava Araham Samma Sambuddho Vijja Charana Sampanna Sugato Lokavidhi Anuttaro Purisatam Sarathi Sattha Devanassanam Buddho Bhagavati Swakhato Bhagavata Dhamma Sankirtiko Akaliko Hipasiko Upaniko Pachattam Veditam Vinyati Sukatipanna Bhagavato Savakasangho Jupatipanna Bhagavato Savakasangho Nyayapatipanna Bhagavato Savakasangho Samijipatipanna Bhagavato Savakasangho Yadinam Chattari Purisalvani Atta Purisapungala Esa Bhagavato Savakasangho Ahuneya Ahuneya Dakhineya Anjali Karniya Anuttaram Punyakhetam Lokasati. Bhadrani Pasantu Side that chanting. Traditional Parita chant. Karuniko Nathu Hitaya Sabdapaninam Puritva Parani Sabha Tatto Sambodhinuttamam Etena Satyavanjena Hotu Te Jaya Mangalam. The great merciful God, and the great merciful Lord, for the good of all living beings, that taste all perfections and attain supreme enlightenment. By these two words, may joyous victory be ours. Jayanto bodhiyamule satyanam nandivardhane evam niyam jayo hotu jayasri jaya mangalam. He who announced the happiness of the Satyas, who was victorious at the foot of the Bodhi tree, likewise may there be victory to us in the eye of the blessed. Sakkatva buddharatanam kosadham uttamam varam itam eva manusanam buddhate jena sottina nasantu pandava sabde dukkha rupa samantu te. Wherever the Buddha dwell, highest bound and best, ever beneficial to gods and men, by that Buddha's glory, safely may all obstacles and suffering cease. Sakkatva dhammaratanam osadham uttamam varam parilahu pasamanam dhammate jena sutthina nasantu balm and best. Sakkatva samvaratanam osadham uttamam varam ahuneyam pahuneyam Sangatejen Sotina Rasantu Padavasabhe Yoga Upasamintini. I revere the Sangha jewel, highest balm and best, worthy of offering, worthy of hospitality. By the power of that Sangha, safely may all my obstacles pass away, may all my disease be cured. Yam kinchi ratanam loke yajati vividhapati ratanam gundha samannati tasma sutti bhavantu te. Whatever diverse precious jewels there are in this universe, there is no jewel equal to the Buddha. By this truth, let me be prosperous. Yam kinchi ratanam loke yajati vividhapati ratanam dhamma samannati tasma sutti bhavantu te. Whatever diverse precious jewels there are in this universe, there is no jewel equal to the Dhamma. By this truth, let there be prosperity. Yam kinchi ratanam loke yajati vividhapati ratanam sangas samam natti tasma sutti bhavantu te. Whatever diverse precious jewels there are in this universe, there is no jewel equal to the Sangha. Strongly. By this truth, let me be prosperous. Natti me saranam manyam, buddho me saranam varam, etena satcha vanjena, hotu me jayamangalam. There is no other refuge for me. Buddha is my matchless refuge. By these true words, the joyous victory be mine. Bhakti me saranam manyam, dhammo me saranam varam, etena satcha vajjena, hotu me jayamangalam. There is no other refuge for me. Dhamma is the matchless refuge. By these words, the joyous victory be mine. Bhakti me saranam manyam, sangho me saranam varam, etena satcha vajjena, hotu me jayamangalam. There is no other refuge for me. Sangha is my matchless refuge. By these two words, joyous victory be mine. Sabbhitiyo vivachantu, sabbhavo vinassatu, mate bhavatu antarayo, sukhibhikayantu vibhavam. May all calamities be walled off, may all illnesses be dispelled, may no obstacles hinder me, may I live long and happily. Bhavatu sabba mangalam, Rakhantu sabba devata, sabba buddhani bhavena, sada sotti bhavantu me. May all good fortune come by my way, may all deities protect me, by all the power of the Buddha, may I always enjoy well-being. Bhavatu sabba mangalam, Rakhantu sabba devata, sabba dhammani bhavena, sada sotti bhavantu me. May all good fortune come by my way, may all the deities protect me, by the power of this Sangha, may I always enjoy well-being. Some confusion in the lining, realignment. By all power of the Dhamma, may I always enjoy well-being. Bhavatu sabba mangalam, Rakhantu sabba devata, sabba sanghanubhavena, sada sotti bhavantu me. May all good fortune come by my way, may all the deities protect me, By the power of December, may I always enjoy the Yakhabhutanam Papagahanivaranam Parittasamabhavena Antvatesham Pupantavi Yakhabhutanam Papagahanivaranam Parittasamabhavena Antvatesham Pupantavi Yakhabhutanam Papagahanivaranam Parittasamabhavena Antvatesham Pupantavi. By the protective power of these verses, may my misfortunes be destroyed, troubles due to stars and demons, harmful spirits and ominous planets. Devo vasitu kalena sasya sampatti hetu cha Rito bhavatu loko cha Raja bhavatu dhamiko. May rain fall in due time, may there be rich harvest, may the world be prosperous, may the government be righteous. Sabbe buddha balakata rakham bandhani samrasu. By the power of Almighty Buddhas, I secure protection in every
राजा भव तो धनी को बड़ी अच्छी लाइन है सर.
These the verses created in Sri Lanka, in tune with the Indian tradition of good wishes.
So these are not from Sutta, no?
These are Paritta chanting, protection verses.
But those are even the Paritas are sourced from the Suttas.
Some of them, not this. Say Ratana Sutta is there, the Bhojanga Sutta is there. That's maybe one or two. Rajanga Sutta is there. That's all. Others are all later creations.
What texts do these occur in?
These are in separate, there are books in Paritta chantings which have been made in Sri Lanka. Most of them in Sri Lanka.
They are very much inspired. The words, the style, it's all.
If you don't read English, then it becomes much better.
Yes.
Then it becomes, the flow becomes smooth.
Yes. अगर इंग्लिश को नहीं करते हैं.
And if you understand, then there is no need, because these in this verse, for example, the words are quite easily understandable. And if you have read it so many times, then you remember it. ऐसी चला दूँ क्या? गर्मी लगेगी ना तो पंखा का. एक मिनट. So we have the Satyanipata.
सर एक मिनट यहाँ पे वीडियो ऑडियो की प्रॉब्लम हो रही है तो एक बार मैं चेक कर लेता हूँ.
नेट नहीं चल रही है?
नहीं चल रहा है. Sudhakar and Rajendra ji, I've reduced the fan speed, so hopefully the audio should be better now. You're saying little better. Okay. So can we continue?
ऐसा कहाँ पे है?
Five to maybe my five download history.
I think for the video, maybe if you restart the session, the video will come out. I'll also restart the session.
Download it again.
या
Hopefully it will.
कर सकते हो टाइम
Setting करना पड़ेगा.
अभी तो वो
सेटिंग्स में डिस्प्ले में स्लीप का टाइम इंक्रीज करो. Okay, I have restarted the session. Okay.
ये भी कर सकते हैं ट्राई. Look at your eyes. कितना करेंगे? 1 minute है. कितना करें?
10 minutes, 20 minutes कर
10 minutes होती है I guess.
10 तो करी.
नहीं करेंगे. कोई बैटरी खा जाएगा. आपने एक बार छोड़ दिया ना. अब बंद नहीं हुआ. तो बैटरी खा जाएगा.
अभी तो कुछ कर दो फिर बाद में इसको
10 minutes कर
फिर कम कर दूंगा.
10 minutes कर.
बैटरी खत्म हो जाती है इसकी कम रखना. So we'll study this. I have put two suttas together because they are very short. Each of them asks only 4 questions. So two of them put together. And you hope you remember the background is the same. It is those 16 students of 120-year-old Brahman going to ask questions.
तो कितने पे पहुंच गए हैं?
9-10 पे.
लगे हुए हैं काफी समय से.
हाँ.
तो थोड़ा सा लाउड.
सेंसिटिविटी बढ़ाने से बैकग्राउंड में रहती है.
मैं कर देता हूँ.
नहीं, ठीक है. It is should be picture. It's not taken from that Fossball's translation. तो शायद मैंने देखा नहीं. इसको चेंज करना चाहिए. So today is the name of the person. Quite a different name. Yasmin kama na vasanti tanha yasya na vijjati katham katha chayotinnu vimokhotas kidasa. On whom there dwell no sensualities, on whom no craving is found, one who has crossed over perplexity, what is his emancipation like? I have taken this time the translation from Thanisaro Bhikkhu. He has translated it in verse. So the question he is asking is, one who is having no sensuality, no craving, no perplexity, what is his emancipation like? Is there something other than that also?
यस्मिन् कामा न वसन्ति तण्हा यस्य न विज्जति कथं कथा च योतिम्ना विमोक्षो तस्य नापरो.
It says vimokho tasya naparo. So one who has done all that, has no sensuality, no craving, no doubts, then this is what is emancipation. His emancipation is not other than that. That itself is the emancipation. It is not something other than that. We have that complex of moksha being something other than this. So that's what is being answered.
निराससो तो उदार पसासानो पन्या पन्यावा सो उदा पन्या कपि मुनिम अहम सखा यथा विज्ञानम तम में विया चिखा समन्ता चक्कू.
निर्आस सो, जिसकी आशा नहीं है. I just want to share an interesting thing about how translations go haywire. There's an ancient translation by Fosbon done in beginning of 19th century. He has translated it. He has probably omitted this ah. So if you omit ah, it becomes asasso. Asasso means breath taken in. So he says one who is without breath. So that got translated. So all that he has translated, instead of desire, he has said it as breath. So the whole thing becomes totally different. So it's not even garbad ho rahi. Then I looked up somewhere else and I found that this is I looked up that book of Saddhatissa. There it was written. It is near asa. So asha. Asa is, and the asha means the desire. But if you read it asasso, breath going in, breath coming out. So one who is not taking any breath. That sounds very interesting. But probably that was the connotation taken of a person in state of Nibbana. He is not breathing, he is not doing that. So different translations can be done. And this seemed more reasonable to me, so I put that. Nirasasu su ud asasano. Is he without desire or he is still desiring? Panyava su ud panya kappi. Is he still acquiring some panya or has he already established himself in panya? Munim aham sarkayatham vijjana. So a sage described this, such a sage, such a muni you described to me, O Shakya, Sakka, yatha, as you know, tam me viya chikha samanta chakku. Samanta chakku is the kind of epithet given to Buddha, the one who sees all around. So he says, you please describe that sage to me so that tam me viya chikha, so that when I see him, I can recognize him. This is the question which he asks. Nirasasu sun asasan. He is without desire, he is not desiring. Panyava, he has got the full discernment, he has got the full wisdom. Na cha panyakappi, he is still not acquiring wisdom. Evampi todeya munim vijana. O Todeya, recognize the sage in this manner. How? Akinchanam kama bhave asatta. He has nothing, he is kama bhave asatta. He is not trapped in sensuality and in bhava, in the becoming. So this is his answer.
Akinchan is
without anything, who has nothing, who is not possessing anything in that sense, and is not entangled in kama and bhava, in sensuality and becoming. So that is his crisp reply. Then we have this kappa manava kuch. This is quite often quoted sutta.
so now this is the next end.
Kappa. This is quite often quoted by these IMS people. And this also forms the basis of the title of that Abhayguri book, The Island. Island book, this means Nibbana ka description. So this is the sutta verse from which that word has been taken.
मुझे सरस्मिन तीर्थकम ऊर्ध्वे जाते महाभये जरामच्युतपरित्राणं दीपं पाब्रूहि मानसा त्वञ्च मे दीपमाकहि यत्थायतिं नापांसीय.
मज्जे सरस्मिन तिष्ठतम. सरस में सर मतलब स्ट्रीम है. वन हु इज स्ट्रैंडेड इन द मिडल ऑफ द मध्य बीच में खड़ा हो गया. वन हु इज स्ट्रैंडेड इन द मिडल ऑफ द स्ट्रीम. ओव जाते महाभय. ओव द फ्लड. एंड हु इज in the flood of great danger. What is that great danger of? Jate, of birth. Jara machu paranetam, who is overwhelmed with aging and death. Deepam pabruhi marasa. Tell me, is there an island? Sir. Swancha me deepam akhahi. So you show me that island. Yatha idam na param siya. So that this may not happen again. How beautifully the question has been framed, you know.
पोएट लग रहा है.
कप्पा, इसलिए वो कप्पास क्वेश्चन आप उन्होंने काफी बार कोट करते हैं इसको.
मज्जे सरस्मिन तिष्ठतम ओहि जाते महाभय जरा मच्चु परेतानम दीपम प्रभुहि तत्पथ.
I'll tell you. So he is replying. So for one who is stranded in the middle of the stream, in the flood of great danger, that is birth, and is overwhelmed with aging and death, I will tell you the island, Kappa. Don't worry. Akinchanam anadanam etam deepam manaparam nibbanam itinam brumi jaramachu parikkayam. Akinchanam anadanam. Having nothing and clinging to nothing. Etam deepam manaparam. This is the island. There is no other island. Nibbanam iti nam brumi. This is Nibbana, I tell you. Jara machu parikkayam. That is the ending of aging and death.
एतदन्याय ये सता दिट्ठधम्मा विनिर्मुता नते मारवसानुगा नते मारस्य पद्धु.
Etad anyay ye satta. Those people who realize it and were mindful through mindfulness, or who were mindful and realized this, dittha dhammam abhinnibbhuta, who have been cooled down here by here and now, by seeing and realizing this here itself. Nate mara sanuga. They don't come under the sway of the mara. Nate marasya padhavu. They are not who serve as Mara's servants. They don't believe in Mara's slaves. So the net advice is akinchanam in these two. Akinchanam anadanam etam deepam manapam. Have nothing, cling to nothing. Possess nothing, cling to nothing. That is the island. Simple 2 words answer.
सर ये theme क्या होता है when some of these standards
ended? When the speech is ended, marking the end of the.
It is the ending quotation mark.
So quotation भी लगा देते हैं हम तो, but key word is used there. That this is the end of the statement.
So theme itself does not have any meaning.
So the solves. अपना presentation भेज दी?
नहीं, अभी email
अभी तो मेल भेजे नहीं.
अच्छा देखिए
अभी मेल भेजे नहीं.
मैं just busy. Easy.
This is for that scholar. It's not doing meditation.
Yeah.
Which you? Nice.
Those who study and don't meditate.
So, again today there is a Dhamma talk by Ajahn Chah, and the title of the Dhamma talk is Tucho Pothila, and in English it's again says Venerable Empty Scripture. The background of why this person Tucho Pothila was called a Venerable Empty Scripture is a story at the time of Buddha, and the story will come in the following slides. Moving to the next slide. So the talk by Ajahn Chah starts with this comparison between Amisa Puja and Patipati Puja. And Amisa Puja, the way generally sometimes what we do is that whenever we go to temples, we do our offerings. So these offerings which we do at the temple, they help support the monks and overall Sangha in the temple. So this is what is Amisa Puja. It has its own advantage of supporting the community. Similarly, there is an another example which Ajahn Chah gives is that I think on special occasions the lay persons come and take this vow of this vow sila, and then practicing restraint. But many times what happens is that these vows which are taken, they are taken more in ceremonial terms. They are not taken in true terms of internalizing them and trying to follow their real meaning. So that's where this term Patipati Puja comes, where this is understanding the real essence of Buddha's teaching and trying to follow that. So this is the offering of practice cultivating to restraint, concentration and wisdom. That's so as this is a real way in which we can support Buddhism. That's what comes out in the talk by Ajahn Chah. And then this is it.
Even that famous verse which Buddha recites just before his dies, and when the Buddha is lying down and the flowers drop down from the skies, and Ananda says, see, the Devas are worshipping you. So he says, Imaya Dhamma Anudhamma Patipadya Buddham Pujeni Dhammam Pujeni Sangham Pujeni. This is not the way you worship the Buddha. Imaya Dhamma Anudhamma Patipadya. By walking on the path from the gross to the subtle, that's how you worship the Buddha. So that's the same thing which he did.
Yeah. And as Ajahn Chah loves, he gives various similes, and in this talk also he gives many similes to send across the message And the first simile he tries to equate Buddhism with a tree, and by tree he means a tree which has roots, then it has trunk and the branches, the twigs and the leaves. So I'll just read this simile directly. A tree has roots, a trunk, branches, twigs and leaves. All the leaves and branches, including the trunk, depend on the roots to absorb nutrient from the soil and send it out to them. In the same way, as the tree depends on the roots to sustain it, our actions and our speech are like branches and leaves which depend on the mind, the root, absorbing nutriment, which it then sends out to the trunk, branches and leaves. These in turn bear fruit as our speech and actions. Whatever state the mind is in, skillful or unskillful, it expresses that quality outwardly through our actions and speech. So this is the whole message which really comes out in this talk, where Ajahn Chah repeatedly brings this message across, that looking at your mind and bringing cultivation of your mind is the real essence of the practice, and that's what also comes out in this simile also. And then there is this story of the monk Tucho Potila. So it's said that at the time of Buddha there was this learned monk Tucho Potila, and he was heading the 18 monasteries, and he was very learned, probably in his...
His name was something else.
Okay.
Buddha gave him that name. So Potila means one who is empty. Potila means Pothiyon se bhara hua, na? In wisdom but empty.
Yes. So he was heading many monasteries, and there are a lot of followers who will not dare go upset him or say anything because of, they all were awestruck with his kind of knowledge. But once when Tucho Potila went to meet Buddha, the Buddha addressed him, "Oh, hello, Tucho Potila," when he came and sat in front of him, which essentially means, "Hello, Venerable Empty Scripture." And at the time when this fellow was leaving, again Buddha addressed him, "Oh, you are going by Venerable Empty Scripture." So when this fellow heard that why this Buddha is calling me this empty scripture, he kind of could get a sense that he was having this lot of memory and knowledge related to books, but his in real terms he was same as all the lay followers, with any real essence or any real true wisdom in him. And so he set out this task that I also need to get this real essence in the teaching of the Buddha. But there was this problem which came in front of him, because he was so popular and he was heading so many monasteries. Any of his followers or disciples who might be enlightened but will still not dare make him as a student because of his stature and rank. And generally this is a practice in India, that we now try to oppose sometimes teachers. So, between the teacher and the student there comes this divide. Then this Tucho Potila found a young novice monk who was enlightened, and he went to that monk and asked him that he wants to get the real essence of the teaching of the Buddha. And that young monk agreed that yes, you can practice with me, but I want to make sure that you have discipline, resolve, and you are steadfast, and you are committed for the teaching. And Tucho Potila agreed that yes, I am in this regard. And that young monk asked him to wear his all the robes, which probably he had some expensive robes also. And when the Tuchu Potil had put on all the robes, then there was this muddy bog, the pit probably filled with a lot of mud and water. And he asked Tuchu Potila to go inside this muddy bog and just jump inside it. And Tuchu Potila then did the same thing. He just went in the muddy bog and started jumping in it, and he jumped till that time when all his clothes were completely filled with mud. And this gave the impression to the young monk that yes, Tuchu Potila has really energy and resolve to study and understand the real essence of the teaching. And then he gave this teaching to Potila, and so the teaching which he gave to Tuchu Potila actually is in slide number 6, but if you just cover the slide number 5, so eventually when Tuchu Potila practiced as per the teachings, he could really get the essence of Buddha's teaching. And I've just captured from the top, the lying mind is one to watch. This is the one which leads us into extremes of happiness and suffering and causes us to endlessly spin around in the cycle of samsara, with its pleasure and pain, good and evil, all because of this one. Tuchu Potila realized the truth and grasped the essence of the practice, just like man grasping the tail of the lizard. He saw the working of the deluded mind. Okay, so coming to slide number 6, really, what was the teaching the young novice monk gave, which helped Tuchu Potila realize? So again, this is given with the help of an example. And the example is that suppose there is a mound of termites, and there are 6 holes in the termite mound, and the lizard is inside the mound, and you have to catch the lizard. How will you catch? And the way given out is that you will close the 5 holes and you will just keep one hole open, and you will watch that one hole, and as soon as the lizard comes out, you will kind of grab the lizard. Now, what are these 5 holes and what is this one hole? These 5 holes stand for the 5 senses. So you closing these holes is like putting the restraint on these 5 holes, and the 6th hole stands for the mind. And the practice is to essentially use Sati Sampajanya to observe what's arising in the mind, and that's the way to gain the knowledge and the wisdom. So I'll just read the second paragraph from here. Observing the mind is like this: closing of the eyes, ears, nose, tongue and body. We leave only the mind. Close of the senses means to restrain and compose them, observing only the mind. Meditation is like catching the lizard. We use sati to note the breath. Sati is the quality of recollection, as in asking yourself, what am I doing? Sampajanya is the awareness that now I am doing such and such. We observe the in and out breathing with sati and sampajanya. And obviously,
This definition, what is the difference between sati and sampajanya? This definition is different than how Transformer puts it.
इस संपजन्य का जो क्लासिक डेफिनेशन तो कुछ और है. In Sampajanya Pabbam, the Buddha talks of Patikkamte, abhikamte, sampajanakari hoti. So in every activity you are mindful. So whether it is dressing, walking, talking, eating, everything. So that is the definition given in the Satipatthana. But in the commentaries it is mentioned Sampajanya has 4 dimensions. And from the day-to-day point of view are the first 3. The key thing from the point of view of practice of liberation is being aware, asammoha, not being deluded while you are being mindful. So mindfulness plus wisdom. So Sampajanya is translated as wisdom also, which means observing the things with wisdom, knowing the things as what they are, not getting carried away by the appearances. So the observing, say if you are seeing, you are observing, am I seeing or is seeing happening? So the apparent thing is I am seeing, and the wisdom is seeing is happening because of consciousness arising because of the, so that you can kind of disentangle from the notion of I. So that is the, of course there are other 3 which are from the point of view of mundane Sampajanya, that is what is the purpose should be clear, then the domain should be the suitability of the endeavor and the domain of endeavor, that the mind should remain within the certain domain. So these are from the day-to-day life point of view Sampajanya, that if you do any activity mindfully, you should also be clear about its purpose, you should also be see that it is suitable, and then also see that it remains within the restraints of the practice, whichever task you are undertaking or meditation practice. Because that Sampajanya is for everything.
It's translated as sati, simple attention, not kind of looking at things. And with Sampajanya means that whether you look at it with Sakayati or you look at it without this type.
Yeah. You look at the sati is basically mindfulness. Now that sati itself is defined by the Buddha as 4 dimensions, isn't it? So if you look at it, then it means all of them put together. You are mindful of the body, mindful of the breath, mindful of the feelings, mindful of the state of mind, mindfulness of the dhammas which arise. So in that sense, it is comprehensive. So that's why the usual English translation of Sampajanya is comprehensive awareness, which means all-round awareness of everything, with Panya being added to it. So Sampajanya has a different connotation in different translations.
इसका ये नहीं मतलब जैसे सती मतलब अवेयरनेस हो गई, संपजन्य जो कुछ भी हो रहा है उसको हम जान रहे हैं, जो कुछ भी हो रहा है
सती भी तो वही है ना, जो कुछ भी हो रहा है उसको जान रहा है. सती भी तो
संपजन्य में जो हो रहा है उसको जान रहे हैं,
कॉम्प्रिहेंसिवली जान रहे हैं उसको, जो विजडम के साथ जान, विजडम के सेंस में कि उसको समझ रहे हैं. जैसे मैंने बोला, जैसे हम देख रहे हैं, हमें लगता है ना मैं देख रहा हूँ, तो ठीक है, काम सामान्यता तो यही कहेंगे. अब तो आप पूछोगे कि सुन रहे हो, तो मैं कहूँगा हाँ मैं सुन रहा हूँ, तो ये नहीं कहूँगा ना सुना जा रहा है, तो देयर बी कम्युनिकेशन प्रॉब्लम. सो कन्वेंशनल लेवल पे तो ठीक है, बट वी शुड हैव दैट क्लैरिटी दैट थिंग्स आर हैपनिंग, देखा जा रहा है, सुना जा रहा है, सो दैट वी कैन काइंड ऑफ, जैसे इन्होंने कहा कि सकाय व्यक्ति से हटके हो, डिल्यूजन से हटा हुआ है. डिल्यूजन इन वेरियस सेंस, डिल्यूजन कई तरह से हो जाता है ना. सो वो जो डिल्यूजन है उससे हटा हुआ हो, तो उसको संपजन्य का वो कैरेक्टरिस्टिक भी है. कमेंट्रीज में वो कैरेक्टरिस्टिक वो बताया गया है, सम्मोह, दैट देयर शुड बी नो सम्मोह, देयर शुड नॉट बी डिल्यूजन. While you are being mindful, you can be deluded.
Give an example of
you can take it personally, simplest things. नहीं, not only that. मेरे चित्त में द्वेष है, अरे बाप रे, मेरे चित्त में द्वेष जाग गया, तो मेरे से तो द्वेषी द्वेष जागता रहता है. द्वेषी द्वेष. Yes. And wisdom is knowing that it is a phenomena, conditioned phenomena. Yeah. It's not mine.
And at that point it becomes something.
Yes.
नॉर्मली
तो हम यही समझते हैं ना, मुझे गुस्सा आ जा रहा है यार, बार बार गुस्सा आ रहा है, देखो मेरा स्वभाव ही ऐसा है, मैं हूँ ऐसा यार, मैं बहुत अच्छा हूँ, मैं तो बहुत शांत हो गया, तो यू टेक इट पर्सनली. तो जो बुक है ना उसका टाइटल, डोंट टेक इट पर्सनली, दैट्स इनफ. दैट इज द एंड ऑफ सिंपल इंडिविजुअल. डोंट टेक थिंग्स पर्सनली. साधना करने में बहुत बार ऐसा होता है ना, जब आप सिंसियरली साधना कर रहे हैं, बैठे हैं 40 दिन से बैठे जा रहे हैं और फिर भी द्वेष जागे जा रहा है, क्या दिमाग खराब हो गया हमारा. सालों से साधना कर रहे हैं, अभी भी द्वेष भरा पड़ा मेरे के अंदर, मेरे में तो राग ही राग है, मुझे तो द्वेष हटाने हैं, राग हटाने हैं. Then you take everything personally. Then there is no sampajanya. This is only sati.
When we were discussing this yesterday, it's on day 2.
Friday.
Yeah. And saying that at the time of sati, what is the kind of, I was translating it as like what is the attitude towards it, right? If there is something like a dvesh jag raha hai, the attitude is towards aversion, like aversion. When you look at dvesh, what is your attitude of looking at it? Like an aversion to dvesh. You may have the willpower to continue to look at it, but you will continue to look at it with aversion. So I think there is one looking and there is the tree behind it.
But ऐसा है ना राजेश, it's our own experience that the moment you start looking at it, this ditti, all this collapses. You remember?
Sometimes, most of the time it could. Depends on the level of awareness. Sometimes if there is some very powerful attachment to that thought, कोई perception है बिल्कुल clear, ये पॉलिटिशियन तो सारे चोर हैं, और ध्यान करते हुए विचार आ गया किसी पॉलिटिशियन में तो चोरी है, तो बेईमानी, then you can go on with that thought of dvesh for hours, because it is so deeply ingrained in my psyche, my understanding में fixed है ये सब ऐसे ही है.
So sati is the knowing of that dvesh, right?
Yes.
That there is dvesh, and then
Sampajanya would be seeing it as a conditional phenomenon. Okay. It has arisen because of condition.
Right.
Go away.
Okay.
It's not mine. And the person about whom I am having dvesh is not epitome of that. He is not having that dvesh within him all the time.
That person is also conditioned.
Yeah, that person
So
is also.
then you are now equating sati with sense sphere consciousness.
Sati is awareness. Sphere consciousness would be seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, thinking. Sati is different.
This is thinking only, this thought about whatever this.
So no, that is you are being aware of it. No? The thought has arisen and you are aware of it. But if the thought, if I have made a firm belief in my mind that this person is like that, then it will be very difficult for me. I will see aversion has arisen, but that thought it is very sure to me that वो बंदा तो ऐसा ही है. So then the thought will continue for a long time. It will not. आप कह रहे थे ना कि देखते ही निकल जाएगा. Most of the time अगर बहुत ज़्यादा strong entrenched नहीं है तो निकल जाता है, तो शांत हो जाता है. But कई बार ऐसा entrenched चीज़ें रहती हैं ना हमारे मन में कि वो they don't show their impermanence so quickly, or they show it impermanence in the opposite direction. जिसको उस देश को जागते ही और देश बढ़ जाएगा. सचमुच में ऐसा ही है, ऐसा है, ये ऐसा है, ये ऐसा है. And keep on getting rolling in that aversion for long periods of time, because mind में वो बात fixed हो गई है. तो जो हमारे डे टू डे लाइफ में जो हमारा परसेप्शन है बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है. अगर हमने मन में डे टू डे लाइफ में परसेप्शन बना लिया ये आदमी तो बिल्कुल निकृष्ट है, उसका ध्यान अगर ध्यान करते हुए उसका ख्याल आएगा तो वो निकृष्टता तो हमारे मन में बैठी हुई है ना, वो ऐसा ही है. तो फिर वो द्वेष को देखते रहेंगे, हम द्वेष है लेकिन उस द्वेष के प्रति द्वेष होता जा रहा है. So we have to resolve it very deeply. माइंड के अंदर जो चीज़ें गहरी भर गई हैं उनको तो रिजॉल्व करना पड़ेगा, इसलिए वो बार बार आते रहते हैं.
I usually use it as the, whenever you look at the world, you can look at it normally that way we look at it, or you can look at it with anitya and anatta. If your attitude towards looking at it as that the key that whatever I'm looking is bound to change, and whatever I'm looking is there's no self to it. This is not my attributes. That is originally I think anatta and anitya.
अनित्य.
मतलब मैं कई बार अपनी वीकनेसेस को कह दूंगा ये मेरी नहीं है, लेकिन दूसरे की वीकनेस को मैं ये नहीं मानूंगा. उसको पर्सनलाइज कर देंगे. वो तो ऐसा ही है. वो उसकी जैसे मैं अपनी डिफाइलमेंट आती है उसको कहता हूँ मेरा नहीं है भाई, जान गया कंडीशन की. उसकी भी ऐसी कंडीशन के कारण जाग रहा है. क्या मालूम उसकी कंडीशन ऐसी बेचारे की फंस गई हो, हमेशा वही जागता रहता है. चलो.
So coming to slide number 7. Again, Ajahn Chah gives this distinction of how mind, basically the quality of the mind. So there is this one quality of the mind which says, there is this one quality of the mind which acknowledges, and there is a one quality of the mind which knows. Now what's the difference? In case of the mind which acknowledges, acknowledgement is more like reacting to what's happening. For example, there is sound which comes to our ears, then our mind reacts. First our mind will try to analyze what kind of sound it is, and if the sound is good, it may feel happy. If the sound is more of a noise, then the irritation may come. So this is a mind which acknowledges, and that's our day-to-day mind, and that's what the Ajahn Chah comes is ordinary untrained mind. And then there is this mind with the quality, the one who knows, and there is this knowing of what's happening. For example, when the sound comes, there is this knowing that this is sound, and it actually stops at that. There is no further qualification on the sound and trying to put your thinking on the sound. And as the Ajahn Chah says, is the sound arises and we simply note it. It arises according to conditions. It's not a being, an individual, a self, and us or them. It's just sound, and the mind lets go. And this is a powerful sentence which Ajahn Chah says, that it doesn't disturb us unless we disturb it by thinking. And that's what happens, that most of the time it's our thinking which comes on top of what's happening, and we try to qualify it and start acknowledging, and the loop starts. So, sir, as we were talking of Sati and Sambhajanya, there was this question from Shailesh. Isn't perception the apparent reality as of now? That is, we need to take action. Isn't the perception the apparent reality as of now? Whatever we perceive is the apparent reality, and we need to take an action.
The perception is basically a conditionality. Based on our conditioning, we have certain perception. So what appears, how do we interpret it, depends on our perception. Same appearance.
Which is condition.
Yeah. So taking a politically incorrect example, if you have a cow, somebody has a perception of one kind, and somebody has a perception it is 500 kg of meat. There's a difference.
That is condition.
That is conditioning, because of the conditioning. The butcher will always say it is in meat here. क्या कहाँ फंस गए चक्कर में? Isn't it? And somebody who has a perception of cow as a very divine thing, then you will have a different perception, and then you have it. You see the consequence of that. If you can't sit together and analyze, then your perceptions and come to an agreement, there will be problems. So what action will emerge on seeing a form called a cow will depend on your perception. And that perception is determined by conditioning. So it becomes very, very clear how what action emerges is strongly conditioned by the perception.
Shailesh, let me know if this answers. Okay, so moving on to he says yes, makes sense. So moving on, again there is another example which Ajahn Chah gives about the difference between developing a body and developing a mind. And he says that in general, if you have to develop a body, you have to exercise it. You have to move it around. You have to like lift weight and jogging and do a lot of running. That's how you bring the strength in the body. But if you have to bring the strength in the mind, you have to bring it to rest. We don't have to move it around, but bring it to halt, bring it to rest. As a result of staying on one object of awareness, our mind becomes refreshed. And then the example given in the talk is like, for example, awareness of breath. When we become awareness of the breath, this general tendency of mind to move around stops, and with that awareness we can now look at what's arising in the present moment. So coming to slide number 9. So there is this another simile which Ajahn Chah gives comparing knife and a mind. And he says that suppose you have a sharp knife, but if you use this knife to cut every kind of object including stones, your knife is bound to become blunt. And then same is with the mind. If you let your mind follow whatever sense impressions are happening and trying to react, then obviously the mind will lose all its energy. So I'll just directly read. If we let the mind wander after thoughts and feelings which have no value or use, the mind become tired and weak. If the mind has no energy, wisdom will not arise, because a mind without energy is the mind without samadhi. If the mind hasn't stopped, you can't really see the sense objects for what they are. The knowledge that the mind is the mind, sense objects are merely sense objects, is a root from which Buddhism has grown and developed. This is the heart of Buddhism. And next, Ajahn Chah gives the simile of a child's play versus an ignorant mind. And generally, children, when they play, they become so, the play is so enjoying, they are engrossed in that. And if an adult sees the child's play, sometimes it looks very foolish what the children are doing. But if you try to reason it out with children, they'll say that it's all good, we are enjoying it, we don't see any problem. So as such, the message which Ajahn Chah wants to say is that for children, this is the reality. Because of that reality, they don't see what's beyond. And then this is Ajahn Chah equates with an ignorant mind. So for the ignorant mind, in his ignorance, he is kind of seeing whatever he is doing with the ignorance as the correct thing, and he can't see what's beyond. And so I'll just directly read. A child doesn't know anything. To an adult observing the behavior of the child, the way it plays and jumps around, its action don't seem to have much purpose. If our mind is untrained, it's like a child. We speak without awareness and act without wisdom. We may fall to ruin or cause untold harm and not even know it. A child is ignorant, it plays as children do. Our ignorant mind is the same. Essentially, the message which Ajahn Chah tries to give out is that in this ignorance, we are harming ourselves, but we are not able to see this with wisdom. And again, there is this another simile of key of the lock versus the meditation. And he says that even if there is a powerful lock, but if you have the key of the lock, you can use this key to unlock it. And then same is the way you have to treat the meditation. Meditation is a way by which you can unlock and get the wisdom. And coming to slide number 12, and Ajahn Chah gives this comparison of seeing the body with this mundane eye of the flesh versus mind's eye. And what is seeing the body with the mundane eye of flesh is seeing basically taking all those whatever consciousnesses are arising at the senses, taking them at personally and then reacting to them. This is how we react in ignorance. But with mind's eye, we should be able to see their true nature. We should be able to see their transience, imperfection, and ownerless. And then he says that if you are really able to see this imperfection of our body, if you really look into the body, it's so repulsive. There is today's things and there is yesterday's things. They are all mixed in there, and you can't tell what is what. And coming to slide number 13, and I think in one of the earlier talks also Ajahn Chah mentions that during this ordination of samanas, there are lines which come about head hair, body hair, nails, teeth and skin. And many foreigners who come here and during the ordination, they get puzzles that why are we being told about head hair, body hair, nails, teeth and skin. But essentially...
so is there a significance of these things? Because they're all kind of dead things. Hair,
One thing
teeth,
that easily visible.
teeth, hair, nails.
So actually it's not really about that, it's really about these are the outer forms which
Those
we
things
use of a fashion.
with which we get attracted. We get attracted to our hair, attracted to our teeth, attracted to our skin. Isn't it? That is primarily. So then to as a contrast, you say you look at the intestines now, so you get a good contrast. But that is a part of Sati Patthana Sutta.
Yes.
Mansi Parababbam Pura.
There is oil between the
Joints.
So coming to slide number 14, again there is this another simile which Ajahn Chah gives of a bolt versus letting go. And he says that suppose there is a bolt and our normal ignorant life becomes that we keep on tightening the bolt, and as a result what happens is that this tightening keeps on giving us suffering, but we don't realize. And he says the true essence of teaching is to this loosen of this bolt and just make it completely free. And when you make it completely free, it's like letting go, and it's like the freedom. And
it's like frog boiling example.
So I'll just read directly that if you don't know the truth of these things, it's like tightening the screw all the time. It's get tighter and tighter until it's crushing you and you suffer over everything. When you know how these things are, then you unwind the screw In Dhamma language, we call it arising of the Nibida, disenchantment. You become weary of things and lay down the fascination with them. If you unwind in this way, you will find the peace. And then Ajahn gives that the worldly dhammas, power, possession, status, praise, happiness, suffering, and these. So Ajahn Sumedho also mentions about these worldly dhammas, praise and blame, happiness and suffering, taking them as equal value, more as kind of day-to-day reflection. And the message here in Ajahn Chah talk is that we grasp these worldly dhammas and then take them personally, and then we get really lost in them. I'll just directly read the passage. Worldly beings are led around by these worldly dhammas, gain and loss, claims and slander, status and loss of status, happiness and suffering. These dhammas are the troublemakers. If you don't reflect on their true nature, you will suffer. People even commit murder for the sake of wealth, status and power. Why? Because they take them too seriously. They get appointed for some position and it goes to their heads, like a man who has become a headman of the village. After his appointment, he has become power drunk. If any of his old friends come to see him, he'd say, "Don't come around so often. These things aren't the same anymore." And then in the next slide, number 16, Ajahn Chah trying to send across this message that when we are born, we are only born with Nama and Rupa. And then what happens is that as we become older, we are given the names, and then as we take some jobs, we keep on getting all those titles and appendages attached to us. We add on the business of Mr. Jones, Miss Smith, or whatever later on. This
so
is
the what he would have said was the Thai names. The translation has turned into Mr. Jones.
And maybe this was given in front of Western audience.
This was given to Thai some new audience.
Okay. Or maybe the problem of this whole complication is more in the Western people. That is why the news. No, I'm just joking. It was a joke. Yes.
Mind is there.
Of course. Same.
Urban will tell you about King Power.
Same or much. What is it?
King Power. He is that richest person of all the richest persons of Thailand. With shops and all this everywhere. He is the benefactor of Ratnaman.
अच्छा.
इनको उन्होंने बताया था नैना होने से. उसने अपनी शॉप्स का नाम ही किंग पावर रखा हुआ है. नॉट द किंग ऑफ कोर्स. पुरानी कंपनी का नाम ही कैसे है ना.
So coming to the last slide, there is this simile which Ajahn Chah gives comparing the tree with the trunk of the tree. And what Ajahn Chah says is that a trunk of the tree essentially has a bark, then it has sapwood and the heartwood. And it may feel that it's not that only bark or sapwood is important. Essentially, in a tree, all these things are really important, and one supports the another. And the outer form of supporting becomes supporting by giving our offerings or helping the monks. Just the outer form of the support, which is the bark and the sapwood of the tree. But the real support is the support with the wisdom, and that's the heartwood. And that's how Ajahn Chah tries to equate bark, sapwood and heartwood as a seal, samadhi, and panya. And I just read. To support Buddhism with the offering of food, shelter, and medicine is good also, but such offerings reach only the sapwood of Buddhism. Please don't forget this. A tree has bark, sapwood, and heartwood, and these three parts are interdependent. The heartwood must rely on the bark and the sapwood. The sapwood relies on the bark and the heartwood. They all exist interdependently, just like teaching of moral discipline, concentration, and wisdom. Moral discipline is to establish your speech and action and attitude. Concentration is to firmly fix the mind. Wisdom is the thorough understanding of the nature of all conditions. Study this, practice this, and you will understand Buddhism in the most profound way. So that's the talk by.
So now it reminds me, I think I have been always wanting that we should read it. Probably we can read it now. There's a sutta called Mahasarvapama Sutta, where this tree example is given of the leaves, the outer barkwood, the bark, and the inner sapwood, outer sapwood, then the heartwood. And Buddha gives that example of how monks can get caught at various levels of attainments and don't reach the essence of the teaching. बहुत powerful sutta. I think we should study it someday. इसमें वो that sutta has been spoken after the Devadatta creates the schism in the Sangha, and Buddha tells
Devadatta?
Schism karna, he gets the Sangha broken into two and takes some people along. Then Buddha has given that discourse on how people can get caught in. First level is you get caught in becoming a monk, then you get caught in honor, you get caught in concentration, you get caught in virtues, you get Shila, you get caught at Shila level, you get caught at level of concentration, you get caught at level of insight. Yes, taken right to the culmination. I think probably you should read it. It's a very powerful sutta. मुझे याद आया कई बार उसको पढ़ा है, कई बार उसको पढ़ते हैं.
Sudhakar is saying Mahasarvapama Sutta, the longer heartwood, simile discourse.
It's very powerful sutta.
And sir, Sudhakar has shared two links. They are the YouTube videos. The first link is for the main event of Ajahn Sumedho's 83rd birthday on July 23rd.
I had sent you that link, the 6-hour long video. अभी कल मैं एक और देख रहा था, there was another question answer session. So there are a number of sessions which she has done with different people. एक monks के साथ था, एक वो थानी सारा जो है उसके साथ.
वही देख रहा था.
कल मैं देखा, कल एक को मेरे अभयगिरी से नोटिस आया हुआ था कि एक और वीडियो डाला गया है जिसमें इनके मेडिटेटर्स के साथ क्वेश्चन आंसर सेशन, लेकिन उसकी आवाज़ बहुत ही स्लो थी, वॉल्यूम बहुत कम था, पूरा वॉल्यूम करके सुना. So Sudhakar is online, then they should tell us about their experience of Abhayagiri. Sudhakar, please.
Participant microphone.
हम अपना माइक्रोफोन बंद कर देते हैं और उनसे कहो कि अपना माइक्रोफोन शुरू करके बोले, बताएं क्या हुआ. Sudhakar and Silesh both are there, so they can tell us how is the Abhayagiri monastery, because Arpan is setting up a monastery here, so we would like to know. Do you hear Arpan?
सती पे है नहीं, विजडम से उसको हियर करना.
How do they control and talk?
So
पहले उनको वो बना दीजिए प्रेजेंटर.
ये है.
ऐसा उनके बारे से देखे तो हमें भी बड़ा वो
So
है ना, पूरा पहाड़ है.
मैंने सुना है.
हम वो एक टीला लेके बैठे हैं.
वो टीला भी बन जाए तो ठीक है.
नहीं प्रेजेंटर करनी जरूर नहीं.
आगे शिवालिक देने
Silesh and Sudhakar, I've given you microphone rights.
Digital.
Uh, I'll have to take out my microphone.
एक बार उनको बोला तो देखते हैं क्या
नहीं वो ये ले लेता है स्पीकर भी ले लेता है
उसको हटा दो 1 मिनट के लिए.
हाँ बट मैं हटा दूंगा so
Then we can chat with them.
I'm just removing my microphone.
That T-shirt in that program.
माइक्रोफोन में हटा दो उसे
अच्छा.
तो आप इंडियन कैसे पहचानोगे दोस्तों?
चलो ना पता चल जाता है.
श्रीलंका
दिवस बार केवल नेट के साथ था वो they're trying but not able.
Hello. Oh, okay, good. So if you are able to hear clearly, so
Yes, we can hear.
it is myself and Kailesh and my nephew. There was another meditator who was also interested, but he couldn't join. So we we left on Saturday morning and reached there by around 9:30. The first link is actually the first interaction with him. He's answering some question. Some people are not able to hear clearly. So how about now? Can you hear better now? Oh, okay. So so this place is
Yeah, we can hear.
from Bay Area where we live. So this is the same area where the hippie movement started, and Goenkaji did his first did the Vipassana course in United States. So this is a very scenic place, somewhat closer to the Pacific Ocean. So the place is very nice. It's in the hills. It's about 280 acres of forest. So we went there and we met our friend who is actually a Samanera. He became Samanera just a couple of months ago. Before that, he was Anagarika for a year and a half. So that meditator was a long course student of Goenkaji, and he was involved in our Vipassana activities and trust and other things. He just finished his PhD and then he joined this. So that is the background. that was one of the reasons why we visited. So the main reason, of course, Ajahn Sumedho. But when I went there, the feeling I had was I've been hearing Ajahn Sumedho's discourses and then reading his discourses for a long time. So it was a very different experience in that hearing or reading versus seeing him alive talk was totally a different experience. The whole monastery reflects his style, his personality. The reason I'm saying is when we go to a Vipassana center, in Goenkaji tradition, it reflects his personality, where everything is meticulously planned and executed, every detail. So, like people are very like a controlling type, not in a negative sense, but every detail is taken care. But at the monastery, it's like free. They don't really have a plan, or they don't really worry about too much about planning, and everything is open. And when we went and when we were talking to the monks, it feels as if like we know them for a long time. Their attitude is like so open and so casual. It was a very welcoming and a contrasting experience for students of Goenkaji. And so Saturday we met him, and then there was a Q&A going on, so we listened to that. And then after that there was the blessing of the food donation, and then after that we had a meal there, and then we like roamed around the monastery, talked to our friend, and then like some meditators, they took a walk. It was a long walk. If you go around the monastery, it takes about 2.5 hours. It's about 3 miles long or 2 miles long train. So in the evening, after the Q&A and lunch, we went to the nearby town, and then we slept for some time and came back in the evening. In the evening, there was a chanting. Basically, the chanting similar to what we do in this Buddha study group in the beginning. And after that, there was a meditation. And then, so that was about the Saturday event. And then Sunday event was the main event. There were lots of people, I don't know, maybe 150, 200 people, I couldn't guess. And mostly they were Thai people and some white folks, very few Indians, of course. And the event started with like chanting, and then Ajahn Sumedho gave a discourse. The discourse is mainly connected with birth and death, birthday, and it went on. So overall, it was very different experience to me personally. I visited Ramakrishna Mutt, Shankar Mutt, and then other Buddhist monasteries versus going here. This center and this monastery is very similar to our California Vipassana Center in terms of the geographical and other things. But when we go to Vipassana Center, everything is like so quiet and people don't talk and all that. But here, it was like a very casual, and then I had a great experience. So, in terms of the main thing that I got from visiting that place was seeing Ajahn Sumedho in person was very different experience than reading about his discourses or listening to his discourses. It was very, very different experience. And that's all I can say.
Thank you, Sudhakar. Thanks for sharing your experience. Maybe Sinesh, if you have some words, you can also share with us. So while Sudhakar was speaking, Sinesh had written that 280 acres of land portion given by Chinese-based Buddhist center nearby, called a city of 10,000 Buddhas, and all smiling all the time, mind-blowing. As I said on the Facebook, Q-Animus 2 days, chilled and joyful. His presence was the key. Thanks, Silesh. Thanks, Sudhakar, for sharing your experiences with us. Thanks. If anybody has any more questions, we can take that. Else we'll close the session for a day. Okay. Thank you, everybody. So